Don't worry, I am both fully aware that my hair is far too long and that I am unbelievably spotty. But I can also say that I haven't left the house in a month, so, I'm not part of the problem. The first generation of Motorola smartwatches was my first ever in that category. I reviewed it way back in 2016 and truthfully I really enjoyed using it. At the time I was running everywhere, and so keeping my phone in my pocket to play with music tracks and stuff was basically not a good idea because it was going to fall out of my shorts and wouldn't work very well. So having my phone in my bag and having the wrist on my watch yeah, the watch on my wrist for controlling music and skipping tracks and stuff whilst running to college was a lifesaver, or a phone saver, I suppose. Anyway, the hardware itself was pretty cool. It had an almost fully round face, ran Android Wear, which is now Wear OS, lasted 2 whole days on a charge, and was one of the first smartwatches to feel more like a piece of jewellery than just a piece of tech on your wrist. And even though some people find smartwatches useless, I think there are some valid reasons that you might wear one. For instance, the fitness thing. I don't know if you've ever tried to descend like a fast mountain bike trail, but your phone's not going to last 30 seconds in your pocket if you're doing even a moderate speed. So having your phone in your bag and allowing yourself to control everything and see notifications, more importantly, on your wrist is really rather paramount. I bought my girlfriend the Moto 360 Gen 2 for her birthday last year, and she's used it pretty much every single day since she got it. She loves being able to see notifications, that's probably her favourite feature. Having the fitness stuff on there as well is really handy. She doesn't use the music controls as much as I do, but they're still an awesome feature to have on there. Katie and I have got really into mountain biking recently, or at least we did a month ago before the whole pandemic thing, and we really enjoyed having the smartwatches to track our times on certain circuits and trails that we were on, obviously telling the time because, it's a watch, and also getting notifications because a lot of the time we're out for hours and hours and hours. There are a few drawbacks to smartwatches though. The first being that most of them need charging like every 1 to 2 days, which is a real pain because it's just something else to charge, and it's less integral if you have to think about it. So a lot of these smartwatches will charge on like a dock or something, or with a puck or with a cable, and it's just not as seamless as like you might imagine. Like I tend to wear my watch when I'm sleeping, so it's not something that I take off every night, so I have to wait until I need to charge it to take it off, and then I haven't got it, so yeah, it's a bit of a pain. Luckily, modern smartwatches last a little bit longer on a charge and they have faster charging, but the older stuff like the Moto 360s don't tend to charge that quickly. Don't get me wrong, they're faster than a phone, but like just still not that quickly. Also, I see the irony in me not wearing the Moto 360 right now. Soz. Performance also isn't great in most Wear OS smartwatches, and that's really down to the software Wear OS. Stuff is laggy, sometimes apps will crash, sometimes apps just won't work at all, and it often takes a long time to get everything set up and to transfer stuff from your phone to your watch since you're only using Bluetooth. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain, and if I'm honest, it's probably the reason that I don't use a Wear OS watch on the daily, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Katie finds it okay because she's not doing all of that stuff, she's just using it for notifications and for a bit of fitness tracking, and for that Wear OS is actually Fitbit, Garmin, Huawei, Apple. They've all got their own OS like competitors to Wear OS, and they seem to be working an awful lot better, or awfully better than what Wear OS has, even though Wear OS has been out for so long and it's had so much time to evolve and to get better. But it seems very stagnant compared to these other watch OSs that seem to be getting like better every year with every iteration. For instance, I've been using the Huawei Watch GT2 ever since I reviewed it on Android Authority a while ago, and it's like one of my favourite watches ever. Like, it's clean, it's fast, it's got good fitness tracking, it lasts like weeks at a time on a battery. It's amazing. And more recently I've got the Apple Watch in for review, and that has got so much better integration with iOS. So there's a lot that's going for all of these kind of separate operating systems, but for watchOS, or Wear OS rather, it's not quite as good. So what I have here is the Moto 360 first generation Sport, which is weird because at first I thought that it was the second generation that was the Sport, but it's not. It released at roughly the same time as the second generation, but it's still a first generation Sport. It works pretty well as a smartwatch or as a standard watch. It lasts about a day on a charge, which isn't great like we alluded to earlier, but at the same time it's not awful, like it still gets me through a full day. But considering I wasn't using it for anything crazy during that whole day, I kind of feel like it's a bit meh. Like, if you're using your watch, your smartwatch, you're likely using it for fitness tracking, for GPS sometimes, turn-by-turn navigation, stuff like that. And if you're doing any of that on the Moto 360 Sport, it's going to die probably halfway into the day, which is like really stupid. At the same time though, I kind of get why, this is an older watch. It's £50 on eBay. That's how much I spent for Katie's Moto 360 Gen 2 and my Moto 360 Gen 1 Sport. I spent £50 on eBay, decent condition, came with the original boxes, chargers and all that kind of thing. Generally a decent value, I would imagine, but at the same time, you can get a lot of that functionality out of a fitness band. Now, fitness bands tend to cost brand new in the region of like £25–30. You can spend a lot more and get like the really high-end brand stuff, like the Fitbits and stuff like that, but I like the ones from Xiaomi, from Honor and from Huawei, that kind of thing. They just tend to be really good at what they do, which is not a lot, but it's a lot more kind of you send the data to the phone rather than having all of your data on the screen like you would a Moto 360. So a Moto 360 has more kind of apps on the watch, whereas these kind of fitness bands have all the apps on the phone, and then you just get like the time and general stuff on the fitness band itself. So I would say if you're going out to buy a Moto 360, you should get a fitness band, or you should just spend more money and get something that's going to last you longer. The Huawei Watch GT2 is about £120 to £150 if I remember correctly, and those are going to do way more for you than a Moto 360, and more importantly, they're going to last longer before you need to change and upgrade and get rid of the old one. If you buy Moto 360 Gen 1 or Gen 2 now, it's not going to last you very long before you need to upgrade it to the next one, which brings us on with a very, very smooth segue to the Moto 360 Gen 3, which is a watch that's currently available in America, I believe, but it's not available in the UK yet. And it's not actually made by Motorola, it's made by, let me check the name because it was some really stupid name. eBuyNow, yeah, eBuyNow. And they're charging $350 for a Moto 360 Gen 3. It annoys me for a couple of reasons. One, it's called a Moto 360, so if you were going to charge that amount of money, why wouldn't you charge 360? That's just a me thing. But then secondly, why is it costing that much money? It's running Wear OS, which is known to be not a very good wearable software. It's another Motorola device, so it's not even held as like really high regard as a really premium brand. And okay, it's got a fully round watch face now, as opposed to the kind of flat tire thing that we've had on the previous versions. But like, sure, it doesn't look $350 worth of stuff, which is, it's really annoying. And that brings us to the question, can Wear OS be revived? Yes it can, because it's owned by Google, which is one of the richest companies in the entire world. They've developed unbelievable things. They're integral in so many of our lives that a lot of people won't buy Huawei phones because it doesn't have a Google service, or they don't have Google services on it. So yes, of course it can be revived. That's a stupid question to ask. Will it be revived, however? I'm not so sure, because wearables aren't as hyped up as they were like 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not sure if that's going to appeal to Google as something they're going to invest time and money in, when they could be investing time and money into things that are actually going to make them more money. Wear OS is such a shame because it's something that could be really, really good. I have a lot of Google, I'm invested quite heavily into the Google ecosystem in terms of software. So I don't pay for loads of Google stuff, but I have like Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Maps. I have favorites in Google Chrome, Google Chrome extensions, stuff like that. So to have a decent Wear OS watch would be really nice, or having decent Wear OS in the first place would be really nice. It's a real shame, and it brings us back to the whole should you buy Moto 360 in 2020? My answer to that question is no. They're cheap, yes, and they might look okay, but functionally they're not as good as something like a fitness band that's going to cost you brand new, probably half the price, or if you go out and spend double, you're going to get something that's way over double better. Or I haven't tried out the stuff from Garmin, but I would recommend that kind of thing, because on Android Authority, Jimmy has put out some really cool stuff on the Samsung, Tizen and Garmin stuff. Of course, I extensively used the Huawei watch, and I think that's brilliant as well, but it's a little bit pricier. And the Apple Watch is exponentially pricier, but I think it's so much more integrated into iOS that it kind of doesn't make any sense to not go with an Apple Watch if you're on iOS anyway. Also, completely forgot about TicWatch. TicWatch is also really good, and I would recommend checking those out if you're really into something for Android, because I believe Callum still has his and he says that that's a brilliant smartwatch. Notes away, that's the end of the video. Sorry this was a bit of a ranty one, but I did try to make it a little bit more kind of together with fewer notes and more actual substance to the video. Next video is probably going to be the Nexus 6P, which I have written a full script for, so that's going to be way more tightly integrated. Natural light, we got a kind of a softbox here, big old window here. It's like 20 degrees in the UK. I'm going to go on a tiny rant here. I haven't been out of the house in a month. I see people going out and doing stuff and being like, yeah, I'm just out for non-essential stuff outside. Like, shut up, get in the house. Because I've endured this, so you should be able to bloody endure this. Sorry, that's about it. Anyway, I hope that I've at least entertained you, if not informed you a little bit as well. So, thank you all so much for watching. Please do like, dislike, comment, subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. Check out all my social media links that will be in the video description as always. And I want to give a massive shout out to my patrons. You guys are awesome, so thank you for your continued support. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.